It's a hoodie. The boss.
You're also on mute. If you're not on mute, your volume is completely down.
All right, how was that?
There you go.
Okay, you can hear me good?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. I appreciate being able to do this. I am going to be running out as soon as I get done to catch a flight for a board meeting that I am heading off to. So I'm going to share my screen, and I hope I'm going to be sharing the correct screen. I'll see if I can do this. Shoot. Do you see some? There it is. Do you see Cass County Coroner's office?
Yep.
Excellent. I'm winning today. Should go buy a lottery ticket. I also sent this. I can send you the PowerPoint via email once I'm done with this. If you want to see stats a little bit closer, I know the TV screens in the commission room are a little bit small, but I'll walk through this. So currently with the Cass County Coroner's Office, I'm going to just update you on coroner staff today, talk a little bit about the stats that we have, some things that are happening within the office as far as moving individuals around physically within the office, meaning my staff. And talk to you as well about the fingerprint system that we have. Currently, we continue to have 4 of us are full-time. We all take rotation doing our death investigations, weekend calls, and we are a 24/7 department. So we're either in the office or out in the field, but it seems like we're always on the move. So far, deaths in 2025 have exceeded where we were last year at this time. I am going to guess that we are going to be at our all-time high by the time we finish out the year. Number of homicides is actually really relatively low this year. This is kind of surprising given that we do have an increase in or I should say in population, but also with more activity going on, I would have guessed to see this higher, but pleasant surprise that this number is staying low. And this also includes those coming over from the Minnesota side too. So this helps keep our workload obviously a little bit more manageable, as homicides are pretty detailed and take a lot longer to investigate and take more resources. Unfortunately, our suicides, I would guess by the end of the year, will exceed what they did last year. People ask me, do you see more around the holidays, more around Christmas? There is really no rhyme or reason to the times that we see suicides. I'm involved on the state, North Dakota State Suicide Fatality Review Panel with some professionals all over the state, and our focus is to find trends, to find out where we can catch those who are at risk. Even for a population as big as we are, one is too many, but these numbers are relatively lower than I would anticipate. So I guess there's a positive on that side. Our drug-related deaths are pretty steady, actually. We hear a lot about fentanyl. That's our number one drug that we're seeing in the community, along with methamphetamine. Anything that comes into play with drugs, we just assume there's fentanyl in it. We've seen a drug called xylazine, which was really popular trending over on the East Coast, and now that is over in our area. We've had about 5 of those, 5 deaths related to xylazine. For those of you who don't know, xylazine is actually is generally prescribed by a veterinarian. It's a horse tranquilizer, so that's being cut in with drugs, and we're seeing that. Cocaine is also making a comeback. That is something that we hadn't seen in years past, very frequent, but that's becoming more and more prevalent, kind of a designer drug amongst business professionals. Not saying that those are the people who've died by it, but you tend to see it more with business professionals out having a party night or whatever, and that's coming back into the area as well. This is the total number of deaths related to opioids. So opioids is anything from fentanyl, hydrocodone, morphine, and we do keep track of that. This is pretty much on target in terms of where we were this time last year. I don't foresee that we're going to have any really big bumps by the end of the year. The reason that I keep track of these stats is because we do share these with Fargo County Public Health. I get requests from law enforcement, from narcotics teams, and it helps them to see where the trends are. And again, the individuals might be linked to somebody in the area who's either distributing or who has also died by using the same drugs. So this is really handy information. I enjoy stats. I'm a stats person, and so it's interesting for me to see too what kind of deaths that we're investigating within our office. Methamphetamine is relatively steady. Nothing really new there. A lot of the methamphetamine is either used by itself or it's mixed with fentanyl, but this continues to be a drug of choice in the area. Jumping over to cremations, I would guess that our cremations are going to exceed number of autopsies per year. This has gone up dramatically as well. We continue to do our autopsies up in Grand Forks at the UND Forensics and Pathology Services. I think the reason that we're seeing an influx is not only because we have more accidental suicides, than in the past, but also because of the National Association of Medical Examiners guidelines. In the past, we may not be so quick to jump on doing autopsies for people who die in motor vehicle accidents. But by name guidelines, if especially a driver, if the injuries are not well documented, meaning that they might die before they get to the hospital or die when they get to the emergency room and there weren't scans done. We do autopsies so that we can tell the family exactly what the injuries are that caused the death. We appreciate our relationship. Having somebody to do autopsies on the eastern side of the state, that's very important to us. We go up to Grand Forks almost daily, if not every other day. We have a lot of going back and forth to take bodies up and bring bodies back from that facility. So right now they've got 3 medical examiners up there who are doing the autopsies. They're very accommodating to our schedule because we can't always find drivers to take bodies up, but that's been working out pretty well. So something new that I should add with the Grand Forks medical examiners, they are not doing autopsies on the weekends anymore. They used to be 7 days a week, and now they are down to 5 days a week. So that gives us a little bit of breathing room that we're not having to find drivers on the weekends. But I can guarantee that a lot of times by Monday, we've got 2 bodies, if not more, that we need to get to Grand Forks. So it helps that we're only an hour away and not 3 hours away for sure. Some updates as well with the fingerprinting. This was a system that we purchased this year. This was for purposes that anybody that we brought into our facility that we would fingerprint regardless if we had positive identification or not. And as of date, we've had 57, or I should say we've done 57 fingerprints on decedents, and of those, we've only had to actually submit one to the FBI for a positive identification on an unknown male, and we had a response within 4 hours, which is really impressive in my opinion. Before, when we were doing these, where we were doing fingerprints on with ink on paper, the turnaround time could have been a little bit longer. But this is actually, if you see the device on the left, we do the fingerprints on there, and it automatically uploads to the FBI if we choose that. So this has been a great resource, and it's also nice to have fingerprints on hand or on file should family members ever request them, or should there be questions down the road. Within the last week, we've been doing some moving. We are running out of space. We had an office where we had 3 people basically sitting elbow to elbow, and that makes it very difficult when they're trying to have private conversations with families. Just having conversation and trying to get reports done with other people talking, as you can about imagine, gets a little bit frustrating. So what we ended up doing, and I'm just going around here to show you the office space that we do have. The one on the left is my office. The one on the right is the office that the 3 sat in. So we kept one investigator in that office. And then we moved another investigator into that back room that we were going to be remodeling. We are on hold with any remodeling at this point. But we have the investigator now in the back room, which is an office, a laundry room. We have our food refrigerator with our food, our laundry supplies, and more carts. So it's kind of a hodgepodge room, but I can tell you that the investigator who's in the office is very happy to have some quiet and be able to not have those distractions as was previously happening. We moved another investigator into that spare room that we shared with, initially with Fargo Police. We are going to keep that as a family room because we do need family room space. But in the meantime, she will be occupying this space. We're thankful that there were a couple of desks that were available over from the RDJ building that we were able to retrieve to use without having to spend money in 2025. There are a couple of other items that we were able to get from the RDJ building as well. So a big shout out to Jean and Bob from IT for coming over and making this happen so fast. It's very much appreciated by all of us. What we did was we moved our break room from the back room where the doors open on the right to this room on the left, which used to be a clean utility room where we have all of our sheets and other linens. So now that is a break room / linen room, but it gives us a little bit more room and storage that we didn't have before for that. Of course, our supply room is getting pretty crowded, but we make do with that, and it works for our needs. And then, of course, on the right, we've got our exam room, which we've been utilizing quite a bit. I can't even explain how useful that has been when we need to take photos, draw toxicology, do fingerprints, and that sort of thing. And last but not least, we've got our coroner van. This vehicle is on the go 24/7 pretty much. And the nice thing about it is that we've got two mechanisms to be able to transport bodies two at a time. And then we've got our third van, and this came to prove that it's a necessity, especially when we had that tornado back in June. This isn't the only time that we've had to have both vehicles in action or in use, I should say, because we've been busy. Sometimes we get 2 calls at a time, and so it's nice to have that extra van. The downfall of the smaller van is that we don't have the mechanics that we have in the Ford Transit, making it a little bit cumbersome when we're trying to get bodies in and out, but it works for what we need it to work for. Down the road, I would envision that we will be needing a second Ford Transit vehicle, but I'm not going to jump too quick on that until I see numbers change with our workload. And that is all I have.
Thank you, Christy. Questions? Commissioner Flacco?
Mr. Chairman, Christy, this is Tim. 2 questions. The different samples that you take, I mean, I'm guessing they're blood samples that they run for fentanyl, meth, oxy, xylene, or whatever. Where are those run at? Who runs those?
If we have a case that we're doing an autopsy on, we do not draw labs. We have the medical examiner draw the labs, and it's paid for by the state. We do draw labs on all other cases that we investigate if they're not autopsied. There are times that we find things in the labs that we don't anticipate. I mean, we might have a case where we draw labs and then it comes back that there's methamphetamine. In the past, we've been sending those off to a lab called NMS Labs. And that was something that we had been using since Dr. Baird was coroner. The downfall of that is that it is expensive. And so I was talking with the state to ask them how other counties are doing this, because I don't feel that Cass County should be paying for those. Their response is that their investigators aren't drawing labs. So it's kind of a it's a frustration because we are doing what we should be doing. All of the counties should be drawing on all of their cases, but at this point, we've worked out with Grand Forks that if we come across a case that we would run it up to them, run those labs up to them, or have them sent off, and it's something that we're working through. But long story short, to answer your question, and I didn't mean to go off, we send those to the state crime lab right now.
And then just to follow up on that then, is there kind of a time window where you have to ideally run those within? Of
As far as when
X number of
we
days, that type of thing?
You know, if we draw, we tend to try to ship out within a day or two of when we draw. There's preservatives in the tubes, so there isn't any concern that there's going to be any alterations. But the turnaround time from the state crime lab right now, I think, is about 3 months to get drug back.
Okay. And just a general knowledge question on fingerprinting, because I know, like, I remember my father, when he was in his last couple of years, he kind of almost lost all his fingerprints. Is that commonplace for people to kind of slowly lose those when they get up to 90 plus, where they don't have much fingerprint left anymore?
Boy, I haven't come across that.
Okay.
Typically, we would see that in a case where there's a burn victim or other trauma, maybe decomposition, but not to say that that doesn't happen. But if that's the case, then we would find other methods to be able to do positive identification.
Okay, well, unless there's any other questions, we'll let you get on your way, Christy. Thanks for the update.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great week. Appreciate your time.
Safe travels. Emergency management, Cole.
So I brought some examples here. These are the updated emergency procedures for the county. I have two more if anybody else would like one.
It's the same as you sent, right?
Yes. I said I did get a little bit of feedback from a few department heads, just minor suggestions, minor changes. One of the bigger changes that you'll see is previously the Cass County Administrator was in charge. I switched that over for it to be me to be in charge in the event of an emergency or designated chain of command. That goes to me now instead of the county administrator. Another big one that was changed is we've added Narcan procedures, and we're going to be, once this gets approved, I'm going to go down to the Cass Public Health Building and pick up Narcan and put it in every single one of the emergency buckets. I also created maps, and you'll find those in the back, for every floor from the annex to the courthouse. And each bucket will have its own specific map for where it is. You wouldn't need fourth floor if you're down on the second, so they'll just have first and second floors. Some of it did stay the same, such as active shooter training. I worked with Sheriff Johnner on that. There were no updates. Pretty much a majority of what we went through the active assailant training that we did over the course of the last month or so, it's pretty much that. I did add in for natural weather events, just different shelter in places. For the annex, there'll be the Bison room with a backup as the first floor juvenile detention center. Courthouse will be basement parking garage. Backup would be first floor maintenance tunnel, which is just over here. And then for the highway department, their fire vaults, their conference room, or their east building bathrooms.
Can I ask why we're not even secondarily going to use the basement underneath, like the recorder and?
Because that one
Finance.
requires key lock, which the one in the basement, we can have that
Okay.
set up so the electronic lock will go off.
Okay.
Instead of trying to track down keys for underneath the recorder's office. That, and there just really isn't that much space. You could probably fit about 50 people under there, but when the whole garage could fit everybody,
Yeah. I guess I think they can probably fit more than 50, but
It's just, there's a lot of stuff down
Yeah,
there that
there is.
if it's shaking, it could become a fall hazard.
gotcha.
There's even that one space just underneath the stairwell over here, but that is also fairly small as well.
Makes sense, thank you.
I also sent this out, so it's in color. I sent it out to the commissioners, so you'll have that in your email. After this, I would like to move forward with having it be approved by the county administrator and then distributing it out to the intranet and the putting our cans in, or if we have to be concerned about anything. Heavy rains, potential hail, potential tornado, and I'm assuming, I haven't experienced it yet because I've
Sure.
only been here 3 months, but I'm assuming when big snowstorms are on their way as well, we'll get notified and be prepared,
I was
or as
just
much as we can.
remembering Commissioner Vettel and I piggybacked with Sheriff Johnner during the fair, and we were in the trailer house or the hut, the command center maybe is a better description. And the
ICS.
National Weather Service and all the folks that were in there with gathering intelligence in preparation. There was a major storm that would come with 8,000 people in the stadium, for example, to be able to predict that before it hits and prepare. So.
We're pretty good about that. We have incident command systems that we're able to set up, and especially not just at big events like the fair, but also smaller ones that are ran out of Sheriff Johnner's vehicle, let's say the Kindred parade or the Castleton parade or something like that.
Well, again, appreciate you joining the team and appreciate your work. Often this type of effort goes unnoticed until there's a crisis. And that's when you need to shine. And so we're really reflective of that as the work that you do and the commitment you make. So appreciate it. Mr. Flacco.
Mr. Chairman, in terms of the Narcan usage, I think they're not generally the reporters of those kind of things.
Well, doesn't, correct me if I'm wrong, but don't they have like a bucket down at Cass Public Health? And it's kind of
I think they also have some free, different places, but
yeah,
sometimes
free
it's,
to the public. I
If-
mean, if
you know.
somebody's reporting that Narcan's gone missing.
yeah, it's
No,
kind
that's
of
a
like
very
the
good point that somebody would
AED,
just come and grab
AED
that.
stuff where you gotta make sure that they
Absolutely.
all are always ready to go and you aren't unduly surprised.
It might not be a bad idea to send out like every 6 months a, hey, take inventory of your bucket to, because I think there are some departments that were saying maybe some wipes were dried out or something was expired or something like that. Just to-
Very, very good point.
Other questions for Cole? Good work. Thank you. Extension.
Yes, so I'll start with, we lost the family nutrition program, that was a federal cut. And our program ended middle of August. They did receive money to carry it over, so the other counties that had it are going until March. But since ours took a different job, ours ended on August 15th in our office. Our parent resource educator left in September. We have all the permission and we're slowly getting it advertised to rehire. I think they're on a slow pace to try to save money. I'm not too sure why. You know how that works? And so that position hopefully will be filled by the first of the year. So we're down one position in our office, which we'll never get back. So 4-H year started again on October 1st. And so we had a whole new re-enrollment this year, and it's been just amazingly messy. The state made a lot of rule changes, so every club had to file their financial records with us and with the state, which was new. And so that's been a major challenge to get that done. And all our volunteers had to be re-screened for that criminal background check. I'm happy to report that we have 45 out of our 50 re-screened and 5 sitting in the waiting pool. So we're almost there with our re-screening. Our financial forms, we're just waiting for 2 financial forms for 2 clubs that decided to disband. So we did make it. It's been more challenging than ever. And then our new challenge is all of our clubs have to file for a new EIN number and file taxes. And the state says we have to have it all filed by August 15th, September 15th. We tried for our council, but we already filed for 24, so we can't file for 25, so that we can't file. And so the state's saying we have to file, we can't file because we already filed, so we can't file till January. So we're going this round and round circle. And so we're just gonna sit in this round and round circle because we can't file because we filed in 24. We have all the records of that. So anyway, so all our clubs have to file taxes now.
Okay, filing with the IRS.
Yeah.
So what
In
did
the
the,
state of North
what did the legislature do as far as
It
financial
wasn't the
reporting?
legislator, I think it's, I don't know who did it, it's the state office, state 4-H office. And it has something to do in 2011, when the National 4-H Council lost their gen status. So then each state was supposed to take over, and North Dakota is just on a slow pace. And so they're trying to get us all up to date and all rescreened and all financially stable with the IRS, so.
Was the National a private nonprofit on its own that lost its standing and that,
I don't know, I think they decided they didn't want all the states underneath them. And they thought each state should be on their own.
then it would warrant why you'd have to get your own EIN and
Yeah,
just, that
yeah.
was,
And we started this actually 3 years ago, and all our clubs most of them got their EINs. And then no one kept track of that, and none of them filed their taxes, so they all lost their EINs. And now we have to everyone's having to redo it, but the government shut down now, so we really are in a slow place on the EINs.
were those applications for nonprofit organizations?
Yeah, they're for nonprofits. So they're not gonna owe taxes, they just wanna know that
Yeah, you gotta file your,
you gotta file your 1090s. So that's been a challenge in our office. Our four new 4-H agents started August 19th, and they inherited all of this. She's been doing wonderful. She goes on maternity leave on Monday though, and so I get it back. So I told her it just has to be cleaned up before she leaves, and we're doing really good on that. So those are kind of been our challenges in our office right now. We've had some great things happening. A lot of you worked with Jill Sockness when we did that leadership day camp. That went over really well. I don't remember exactly her number she had, but the kids were really enthused about it. It was in August, I do remember that. And then last week she did a 4-H officers training, and we had 28 kids at officer training learning how to do Parley Pro and be president and secretary. So we're trying to build leaders for tomorrow. So we have people that'll be interested in leadership positions in the future, which we know is a challenge. So we're working hard on that. The other area we're working hard on is farm stress and mental health. This is last statistics we heard is there's been 6 suicides, not in Cass County, but in North Dakota from farmers this year. One's pretty close to us. And so we're working hard on getting farm stress information out and mental health information out as much as we can. And that program that I'm excited about is an aging program, aging mastery program. I'm finishing that up this week. It's been 10 weeks and it's been really good learning, how to get your financial records in place and how to get, your advanced directives in place and getting that education piece out there to help people stay at their own homes. And that's the goal, is to try to keep people in their homes. And so that's been a really good program. And so, plus a lot of other programs, as you may know. Last thing is we're gonna be at fall conference next week in Bismarck. If you guys would all bring your cars back Monday, that would really help us back, because we originally had them reserved through social services, and then they made the change, so then we lost all the cars. So we actually had to go through NDSU and get cars reserved. But you guys we'll wait till you guys on the road, okay? You should pass each other as you're coming home and we're going out. Any questions about extension?
How closely do you work with the FFA and how closely?
We don't work with FFA or FCCLA. I mean, no, we don't. Wow, I could change this back. I mean, in Kindred FFA, we work with their judging team. We coach their crop judging team, but that's Kyle, the weed manager, our old A&R agent. So, I mean, that's about all we do.
Okay. I thought that would be a natural that you guys would work with the kids in FFA, but.
No, it's kind of like Girl Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts, we don't work with them either, you know, because, you know, we're 4-H. And so, you know, we all have our little avenues that we go down, and it's like, if we go off on a branch, you know, it's like, wow.
It's like you're working with.
Yeah, we have farmers union camp, and
They
yeah,
don't work.
I mean, it makes, yes, I understand what you're saying, but it's just like we all have our own little lanes, and none of us cross through another lane.
Okay.
And seemingly a number of communities that have 4-H don't have FFA.
Yeah,
I mean, because FFA is largely a school type thing and
that's true.
4-H is not.
Yeah, that's true too. Any other questions? If anyone has any expertise in taxes, we would like some directives. So if anyone, you know, really wants to help us with our taxes, that'd be great.
How not to pay them, right?
Huh?
How not to pay them, right?
Not up to you. You know, we're up to date for the council, so that's good. I mean, it's just getting all the clubs up to date, so.
Well, hang
Council,
in,
we've been
hang in
doing the
there.
right thing.
Hang in there, you'll get it figured out.
We'll get it figured out.
State's attorney.
For hiring update, or for staffing, we are fully staffed for the support staff. We are currently hiring for 2 attorney positions, and we did hire our mid-year attorney additions. She started on August 13th. For office management, we've been making some changes to the leadership staff as people have rotated off of teams and have left. Once we make offers and fill the 2 spots, then we'll have a better idea of what the team makeup will look like and what the team leadership will look like. We did interviews for the potential team leaders last week. Right now we have 1 attorney who just got back from paternity leave. Another one will be leaving for paternity leave at the end of December. I did send out to all of the commissioners the new schedule that's set up for the new courtroom that'll be opening November 3rd. By my calculation, we have roughly 10 more sessions of court each week that the attorneys in my office will be expected to cover starting November 3rd. I think I've talked before about how I started a quarterly meeting of the Judicial Advisory Committee, or the Criminal Justice Advisory Committee. We met on October 8th. We did talk about the courtroom schedule a little bit, the rotation schedule a little bit, and we're trying to sort out the referee schedule, because if the referee schedule doesn't change, we'll have 5 different courtrooms we're expected to staff on Monday mornings at one time. And one of those for the referee, we could have as many as 4 attorneys scheduled to be in that courtroom at the same time. So that's 9 attorneys, almost half of my attorneys in court on Monday mornings, which is sending us into a bit of a panic. You may have seen that Judge Chase resigned. He's now officially the U.S. Attorney for North Dakota. So we are down 1 judge. We're waiting for all of the formalities before the governor will set the process to appoint a new judge. So far, to my knowledge, I don't think anybody from my staff is planning to put in, which is good news. For trainings, one of my attorneys went to a National District Attorneys Conference specifically focused on recruitment and retention. She brought back a bunch of really good ideas, and so we've been working to incorporate some of those. We had 100% participation in the safety training that the sheriff put on along with Cole. We are also planning, I think I have about 3 staff members who would like to participate in the 2026 High Performance Leadership course. We probably have one of the highest percentage participation in the county for departments' participation in that program, and it's been really good feedback from people. I think some good professional development for people is never a bad thing. We're looking for future attorneys. We've been really doubling up our efforts to work with the UND Law School. We go there now, I think, twice a year and put on a presentation, and it's usually pretty well attended. We tried something different this year with, in partnership with the Cass County Bar Association, the North Dakota Bar Association,
and a few of the law firms in town. We actually chartered a bus. We went to Grand Forks, picked up 15 law students, brought them back, let them tour a couple of law firms. They came to the courthouse, met with prosecutors, defense attorneys, and judges. And I think we'll end up doing that on a yearly basis now. It was really well received, and hopefully that will plant some of those seeds for people to want to stay in North Dakota once they graduate law school and hopefully come to the Fargo area to practice. For events, we partnered up with a few departments and the Public Defender's Office. We called it Casapalooza. We grilled hot dogs and hamburgers and had yard games. It was just a nice lunch break that people could come and eat some food and relax for an hour or so. And that went over so well that a couple weeks ago, the Public Defender's Office invited everybody back to have, I think they did like steak bites or something. And we still have a lot of frozen hamburgers left, so I imagine we'll have to grill out there again one more time before it gets really cold. We did our annual SA Olympics event at the end of July, I believe, and we also celebrated employees who had milestones, just employee appreciation in general. And we also had a booth at Pride in the Park. The biggest news for us, though, is Axon Justice, the first part of our digital transformation. We are well on our way for implementing Axon Justice. We've had the beginning user trainings. I think the next step is getting law enforcement on board. We're just, Axon has a very specific way that they do things, a very specific schedule of how they do things. So when we've talked to them about law enforcement in the past, they've said, well, no, they have a roadmap, and we're not to that part of the roadmap yet. I don't think it will be too challenging, though. The sheriff's office should be pretty easy. Fargo and West Fargo, I don't think will be too bad. I think the ones with the biggest learning curves will be Highway Patrol and BCI, just because they have different methods for the way that they do their evidence and their reports. Any questions?
You mentioned Axon. Where are we at with the policy on records retention and what we're going to keep and what we're not going to digitize? Or we are going to digitize and what we're going to shred?
That is on my list right now. We are struggling to stay afloat day by day. But I'm confident within the next few months Bob and I have been talking. We have to reach out to PBK, who's the digital file management, to see their best practices, what they suggest, because it's not as simple as taking a paper file and scanning it all in. Each paper file, depending on whether it's a felony or a misdemeanor, or a juvenile file, has different sections. They all have to be searchable. And at the end of the day, my number one goal is maintaining daily operations. So once we can figure out what the best practice is, how Axon or how PBK would like things done, then we can start converting some of those things. But of course, there is a difference between a retention schedule and converting things. And the retention schedule, I think, will be a little bit more delicate than actually converting the physical files into digital. And the reason why I say that, we've tried multiple times over the years, even before I was elected state's attorney, to come up with a retention schedule that we feel meets our ethical obligations, our legal obligations, partner obligations, and it's relatively complicated, which is why it always ends up stalling. So I have a basic framework. I have sample prosecutors' policies from a few different offices, and we've started those discussions again. It just gets really complicated when you start looking at sex crime, for example. The Century Code has one thing. The clerk's office or the state courts have another thing. The Association of Counties has a model policy, and none of them align. So it's a lot more complicated than it might first sound. So I just want to make sure that we're doing it correctly, we're doing it thoughtfully, and that we're not spending money converting things that we don't actually need to convert. For example, the juvenile files, once those are purged, they need to be purged forever. So there's really no reason to scan in closed files if we're not going to need them. It might be better, because there aren't a lot of them, to box them up, put them in the basement of the courthouse, mark them with destruction year, and then once you hit that year, dispose. So it's a lot and we're working on it, but right now we're just trying to stay afloat. I think we will feel a lot more comfortable once everybody is onboarded and utilizing Acts on Justice, and once the 2 new attorneys are hired, so that there's a little bit less tension in the office for people feeling really anxious because of all of the changes.
Yeah, well, thanks for the update. I'm going off my memory when we approved this with some of those special funds that, one hand, if I recall, that if we needed some temporary help to move this along, then that was something that you or Bob was to come back with from a staffing standpoint to get it uploaded. The second is your definition or what we need to decide. You need to decide on records retention. You know, at some point you got to make a decision.
Yeah.
And I remember making sure that the public was aware of that. There were some public notices so that no one can ever say that they didn't know. But at least from a standpoint of, I don't know exactly what there were specific dates or deadlines we had placed, but I think in our minds was 12 to 18 months this would all be done. And we're probably 4 or 5 months into it since we approved it, right? So anyway, just I appreciate, the update, but I think we got to make sure if there are additional temporary help, for example, that we identify that so this gets done, and so we're not talking about it 3 years from now.
I don't think we'll be moving more than a few boxes of files by the time we're in the annex, maybe not even that many. As far as the temporary staff, that goes into talking to PBK to see what it takes to scan in those documents, because a lot of them by law are confidential. So they're not something that we can just bring in a temporary worker to scan without them getting appropriate
Confidentiality agreement.
yeah, fingerprinting and all of that sort of thing. So maybe Record Keepers has the credentials to be able to do that. I don't know. I know there are some companies that are CGIS approved. I don't know what it costs though to bring in a group like that and sit down and scan. And this is a problem that's decades and decades in the making. So I think it's okay if we take a little bit more time to be deliberate in how we do it with a better end product. But I think 12 to 18 months is doable. I'd like to have a policy within the next few months, but again, I want to get my office feeling a little bit better about things before I'm asking people.
Any other questions? Thank you. You have the last one, veterans?
Mr. Chair, yes, Chris is not able to be here. He's in Bismarck for the week on training, but he had emailed Taylor with a list of updates that I wanted to read off on behalf of Chris and the VSO office. I was had to be reminded that when their trainings come up, they've got to get everybody updated. So their office is closed for the week. They have all of their cards on the doors and are responsive, but they don't have anybody in the office. He shared some information, an after action report from the stand down that they did in September, and I don't know how many folks were able to get out there to Broadway Square on that afternoon, but that was pretty impressive. The number of different vendors and organizations they had, but also the number of veterans that turned out and had at least the opportunity to touch base with the different organizations was really impressive. Again, in Bismarck this week for accreditation training, more work on outreach to the VA once a month with their eligibility office, working with a new housing partner called Semperfi and America's Fund to keep veterans housed in the area, helping with government shutdown, with housing, food, and utilities, working with the Army and Air National Guard to assist their troops, both sides of the river, both North Dakota and Minnesota. That help includes some low-interest loans, housing programs, and working on benefits. United Community Action Partners in Minnesota has help with rent and mortgage assistance, job resources, food shelves, child care, and tax clinics. A number of different help types of assistance also available in North Dakota Homeowners Assistance Fund, and then a sampling of other public and private help that is available at this point. And so, I think we all know how passionate Chris and his staff are about helping veterans, and I know they take this very seriously, and glad that they get this week both to get together, not only to have the training and get updated, but hopefully have a little bit of camaraderie at the same time. So I would do my best to answer any questions, but that would conclude it for my report on behalf of Veteran Service Office.
Veteran Services questions? Any other, go to the order items? Give you 8 minutes back. We're adjourned.